Right now, it's the battle of biographies. That's what we're seeing at this moment. And the Democrats, and more specifically Walz, have been very effective at painting Trump in a negative light. He's weird, and that sticks. And basically, Trump sort of outpaces on that negative point Harris by about 16 points. And so very interesting, suggests that that strategy is effective. It might be a way to counter Trump's irreverence. That's always been a very positive attribute for him. But we will see if ultimately it has that sort of long-lasting impact.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see whether or not the questions over Tim Walz's service and his lack of deploying before retiring ultimately has a lasting impact. Let's just take a listen to how the Republican vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance, has characterized this.
I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
So, of course, the reference to a weapon of war from the senator there was an old advertisement from Tim Walz, who, of course, has advocated in more recent years for stronger gun control measures, talking about weapons of war that shouldn't be available, like the ones he himself carried into war. And I asked this, Cliff, with the knowledge that you've also pulled the notion of patriotism, which is something that Donald Trump pulls much better on than Kamala Harris. To what extent is this a narrative that actually matters to the American voter?
It's very important. And indeed, I would go as far as saying that the Walz pick is more important because of his profile than his policies. He's more sort of aligned with, let's say, Vance's profile, white, rural, veteran, and very important and very resonant with that segment of the American population. And what we're seeing right now is a battle of biographies. Vance is trying to paint him in a negative light. Whether that's effective or not, we will see. But I would say it's the correct tack at going after his personal biography before he's able to define it.
I'm going to ask you about another issue here, Cliff, and that's political violence. It's something that came up in a CBS interview with President Joe Biden, the idea that if Donald Trump loses, it's Katie bar the door. Here's what he said.
If Trump loses, I'm not confident at all. He means what he says. We don't take him seriously. He means it. All the stuff about if we lose, there'll be a bloodbath. It's have to be a stolen election. Look what they're trying to do now in the local election districts where people count the votes. They're putting people in place in states that they're going to count the votes, right? You can't love your country only when you win.
Cliff Young, what are you learning about the level of concern that voters have over this?
Very high levels of concern for violence, widespread belief that the system is broken, so such statements are believable. But the other thing we have to realize is this is one of the primary points of focus of the Democratic campaign, to paint Trump and the Republican Party as being insurrectionist, as being anti-democratic, that they're a threat to democracy. And this will be hammered over and over and over again by multiple messengers. It's a theme that especially mobilizes the Democratic base, but also has a pretty good effect on independents. So I expect to see more of this with more intensity over the course of the next 90 days.